Hi there.
Hi.
My name is Allison. What's your name?
Elena.
Elena. Very nice to meet you. So, what brings you here today?
Well, things have just been really hard for me lately.
Okay.
Like about 2 months ago, I was at home, at night, and, well, I was coming home. I wasn't at home, I guess, when it started, but I came home, and I heard some noise in my house, and, I didn't really think too much of it because I have a dog. But I ended up, sorry, it's just hard to talk about.
Okay, that's fine. You can absolutely take your time.
Well, my dog's really old, and it turns out he was asleep at the time. But when I went into my kitchen, I wasn't really thinking at all. I went into my kitchen, and I turned the light on, and I saw a man, wearing a mask. Definitely not someone I knew, and he had a gun. And he had ransacked the house, and he held the gun, he pointed the gun at me, and I was just so scared, and I just froze, and he told me if I said anything, he would come back and kill me. So he left, and I was really scared. I didn't call the police until the next morning. I just kind of stayed awake all night, just terrified. Didn't really call anyone or tell. I thought he was gonna come back and kill me, so I didn't do anything. But anyway, he didn't really take much of value, but I guess since then, I've always been kind of an anxious person, and I kind of go inward when I'm having a rough time, but the last 2 months has been really hard, and I don't feel normal. I don't feel like myself anymore.
Wow. So it sounds like that must have been a pretty devastating experience for you when that happened.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that, it's perfectly reasonable and understandable to kind of, just the aftermath of that being, you're still sort of on edge, and you just don't really quite feel like yourself. And it sounds like, obviously, that's due to the, to the details of that night, and it must have just been very traumatic for you. So tell me a little bit more about these feelings of just not feeling normal and feeling a bit inward, as you described. Tell me a little bit more about what that feels like.
Well, so at the time, I'd also just broken up with a boyfriend, like a few weeks before that. It wasn't really that big of a deal, but it wasn't a serious relationship, so. But I felt a little extra alone at the time, so it was already hard for me. I was already having a hard time. And so basically, my mom lives far away, and my dad passed away. My siblings aren't near me. They live closer to my mom, out in Michigan. And, I have good friends. I have a really good support network and stuff, and I guess I just, work was hard for a while afterwards. I didn't sleep in my house for a week after that. I did eventually call the police, and the case is still being, in court. We have a court date set for 2 months from now. But I had to go back to work, I had to go back home, all these things, I had to get back to normal life, and it just doesn't feel normal yet. I couldn't sleep in my house. I didn't stay there for a week. I stayed with friends for about a week, until I knew the man had been arrested. I got lucky. Turns out that he had burglarized other neighborhoods in the area, and somebody had seen him. So that's really the only reason I caught him, is because someone else could identify him too. But once I knew he was in custody, I felt safer.
Mhm.
But still, like, it didn't, I know it's not rational, but I still could barely sleep for weeks. I got an Ambien, so I'm sleeping better. But, like, going to work, everyone knew what had happened. Like, I'm really close with my coworkers. I'm
Mhm.
a journalist, and, they knew what had happened. They write the news, so, they knew. And, so it was really scary, and then I have to go face everybody at work, and they're all looking at me different, like I'm on a break or something like that, and my friends are treating me normal, but I don't feel normal around them. Like, I want to just go out and do normal stuff, and I don't know, I feel like I lost the feeling of safety, I guess, if that makes any sense. I don't feel safe with anything anymore.
Absolutely, and I heard you say a little bit ago that you know it's not rational, and I just want to say that your feelings are completely validated. So it's not irrational to even though this man was caught, and even though the situation was resolved in a sense, there's still a lot going on with you internally that's not resolved. So it's not it's okay to still feel unsafe. It's still okay to sort of feel like things just aren't quite normal yet. And I understand that from an outside perspective, for someone who wasn't in that position, it's easy for them to say, oh, well, you know what, this guy was caught, he's off the street, you don't have to worry about anything else. Still, that event took something away from you. These events, and you're not the first, like any client that deals with a traumatic experience like that from like a perpetrator, regardless of what that perpetrator did, even if that person is apprehended, they still take something away from you, and it's very difficult to get that back, that part of you back.
Yeah.
But I think that we can work on getting that part of you back.
Thanks for saying that. I mean, my friends, like one of my friends, was mugged at one point, and so she can kind of relate to me. But I just feel like, I don't know, right now it feels impossible, and I guess that's kind of why I'm here, because I can't figure out how to do it on my own anymore.
Absolutely, and we can definitely come up with some ways for you to sort of start feeling that sense of normalcy that you described. But now tell me a little bit about what feeling kind of normal and feeling safe would look like. I mean, what would that look and feel like if you're able to describe that?
Well, I'm usually really active. I like to take walks with my dog. He's pretty old and likes to sleep a lot, but when I come home in the evenings, I walk him, and so we kind of like go out on little hikes and stuff. He's still he's a young 13, so I can still hike with him and stuff. And so basically just being able to exist the way I want to exist, if that makes any sense. Just like being able to be outside and feel safe. I guess not having stuff in my mind. So, like, I've always been a pretty easygoing person. Like, I don't stress about a lot in life. I'm not. It's kind of funny because my family's all like super high strung, but I've always been the relaxed one. So it's just kind of weird, And yeah, I guess just feeling like myself. Like, I'm usually outgoing too, and I like to spend a lot of time at home, but I would also like to go out and like have a few drinks and enjoy social activities. But now, like, I've tried to do it a few times in the last couple months, and every time I go out, and I can barely even finish one drink because I worry about, like, what if I come home and something happens and I'm drunk, or I'm not even drunk, but like buzzed and can't think on my feet. I feel like I always have to be prepared. I don't even, it's such a foreign feeling to me.
Okay. So would you say that these kind of intrusive thoughts are pretty much affecting most of the areas of your social life and overall daily routine? Would you say that you think about these thoughts pretty often throughout the day?
Definitely.
That's what it sounds like. Okay. And it's great to hear that you are, it sounds like you're motivated to sort of make that effort to kind of, get back into the swing of things, like be with friends and socialize. So, it's very apparent that you are making that effort, and it sounds like that's something that you really want, but obviously, once we're in that situation, it's really easy for sort of our thoughts to kind of get the best of us, and you know, you rethinking about that incident, kind of having that fear and anxiety that something's going to happen when you come home, that can certainly interfere with sort of, you know, it can kind of take the fun and the relaxation out of these activities that you once enjoyed engaging in.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty accurate.
Yep.
Okay. Can you think of a time recently, after the incident, in which you did feel at ease? Can you think about a situation in which maybe you were completely relaxed and you were maybe thinking about other things that were more positive and you were able to kind of socialize?
Not socially. I guess I feel that I still feel really uneasy. Because social events are kind of like involve a certain carefree attitude that I really don't have right now, you know? But work, I've been able to feel good at work. It took a little while, it took a couple weeks before I mean, I still don't feel totally normal, but
Do you feel safe at work?
Yeah, I feel productive, I feel safe. You know, I work in a building that's heavily, you know, there's security at the front desk, there's passcodes on each floor. I mean, there's even offices within my area, my office area, that I can't get into without a card, you know? So it's very safe and secure, and physically I just feel like nothing's going to happen to me there, you know? So I think being at work and kind of, you know, knowing people there care about me, it's finally they're finally stopping like being so worried about me, or like kind of, they ask me about normal things again, like we'll talk about, you know, Scandal or like House of Cards or whatever, water cooler stuff, you know. People didn't say as much to me about that stuff right after. I think they were scared, you know, they didn't want to make light of what happened.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that, you know, obviously we just covered the fact that work is kind of a safe haven for you. And but it also sounds like, you know, there's a social aspect at work. So yeah, you did say, you know, I mean, it sounds like you enjoy what you do. You like to keep busy. I mean, working kind of might take your mind off of the event in some ways. But I'm also hearing that there is a social aspect to your job. I mean, you mentioned that you like the people that you work with. You're friendly with them. You know, you talk about common interests. So how is that different from like a social situation, like kind of being out with friends, doing more leisurely things? So like, can you kind of compare and contrast the social aspects of those two separate environments and how they're different from each other?
Well, my closer friends are more, like I've met them through like shared activities. Like I have a few friends from AMC, like the Appalachian Mountain Club, and it's like a hiking organization, and so I like hang out with them sometimes, and we all kind of share, like want to go on hikes and things like that. So it's, most of my friends are based more on interests. I mean, definitely my coworkers are my friends, and a couple of them I'm pretty close with, but like when I go out with like my girlfriends, you know, or like my closer friends, you know, there's a little gossip here and there, and a lot of the time we'll go out and, you know, have dinner, have a few glasses of wine, or maybe go out and see a concert, a show, go out and eat afterwards or have a drink or something. Kind of like just typical going out or whatever, and then going hiking. So it's more around like, it's more of a close friendship. Like I would tell them anything, and they're the kind of people that, I don't know, like a lot of them come to me because I'm so like laid back. Like they're usually the ones like venting to me, and I don't really like know how to share with them how I'm feeling. But with coworkers, it's just more casual and easy. You know, it's like I kind of is back into the swing of things. I don't feel like they see me any different anymore. And I guess it's just easier.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is, you know, I think that being around friends is a little bit more intimate. It's, you know, you're able to confide in one another. You're able to talk about, you're able to comfortably talk to them about the event. You know, while it sounds like, you know, at work, while there is that social aspect, it's sort of less intimate. You know, you're obviously not going to bring so much of your personal life into the workplace. I mean, yeah, you can talk about kind of common interests, but, so I can definitely, you know, the way you described it, I can definitely see the differences in those situations. So, can you think of a time recently in which, you felt that, whether you were at work, and I know that you mentioned that you often feel a little bit safer at work, or, you were in a social setting, or even just by yourself, can you think about a time in which you sort of felt like you were beginning to kind of rethink or relive that event? Maybe you saw something or that maybe triggered that memory, or maybe you just kind of thought about it. Can you think about a time in which that happened, and can you think about a time where maybe you distracted yourself from that thought and maybe went to go do something else, or maybe engaged in another activity or something along those lines?
Not really. It's kind of hard because when those
Sorry, there's a lot of construction going on. Would you like me to shut our window, or are you?
No.
Okay. Sure.
Oh wow, that really is a lot of construction.
Yeah.
My goodness. I don't know how you work here with all that noise in the
Yeah, we're
background all
going.
the time.
Yeah, it's been a long couple of months when the renovations going on around the office, but
Yeah, I guess it's kind of hard because I have been having, I don't want to say panic attacks, but when I get anxious, I don't want to be around people. So when I do have those memories, and believe me, I do, and that's half the reason I can't sleep when I'm taking Ambien. I don't really want to be around people when I'm feeling that. It happens a lot of the time at night when I go home, after work. I tend to rush home while it's still light out. I know it probably sounds stupid, but it was dark when the robbery happened, and I come home at 9:30 after going out for drinks with some of my coworkers, and that was part of the reason I'm so scared to go home at night now, so I try to go home early. And I do think about it. Now I don't want to say flashbacks, but I guess the only thing I can do when I have those feelings is to kind of remind myself that even though this person, the guy is, he's in jail. He's awaiting trial. He can't make his bail. There's no way he's out in the streets, I have to just comfort myself with rational thought. But it still doesn't always work.
So you're saying that, sometimes you'll try to remind yourself that, okay, he's off the street, he's obviously in custody or in containment, there's no way that he can get to me. But it's still a scary thought. So it doesn't always work when you try to remind yourself that he's no longer a danger to you. So you're saying that it still doesn't always, make much of a difference.
It makes a difference in the logical part. I know this person isn't going to, but the fear is still there.
Right. And and that's something that, realistically, it takes a while to kind of, to get rid of that fear, because there's just that thought that what if this happens again? What if it just happens in another way? I know that you mentioned that you had a friend who, was mugged, and, out there in the real world, things happen, and it's scary. So
Yeah.
completely normal and rational, as we kind of touched upon briefly at the beginning of our session. But like I said, I think that we can work together to help you get to a place in which you can kind of isolate these thoughts and kind of replace them with more positive thoughts, because our thoughts control how we feel about ourselves and the world around us. And with positive thoughts, we feel good. We feel like we can kind of continue to kind of go about our daily routine, enjoy ourselves well. Negative thoughts can really hinder our overall, our feeling of safety, security, self-worth. Sometimes negative thoughts can be irrational, but from what I'm hearing from you and from what we've discussed, your feelings are rational. It's completely normal and acceptable to kind of have that fear.
Yeah.
But I think that, we
I
can...
don't want to have it anymore.
Absolutely.
It doesn't serve me any good. It's that's the main reason I'm here. I can deal with those feelings for however long, but the fact is, it's almost over.
Right.
Maybe not, I mean, the trial won't happen for a while, there's all these different phases, I don't know how familiar you are with stuff, but like, kind of in the middle phase right now, like, the trial date hasn't been set yet. So this is just another hearing.
So your feeling is,
so it's like, it feels prolonged, like, it feels
Right.
like there's still so much left to go, and I mean, I know he's going to be guilty, like, I know that's the end, and for me, maybe that will be the full end of it, but I can't, like, go on like this, just feeling, like, isolated, like, I just, it's not me to be like this, it's me to be social and sarcastic and funny and outgoing and all these things, and it's not in me right now,
and you would like to get back to that point.
Oh, definitely.
It sounds like others would like you to get back to that point. And it sounds like you have a pretty good support system with friends and coworkers and family. I mean, are there certain family members that you're able to confide in? And you know, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it sounds like the fact that the fact that the situation is still a little bit up in the air, like, yes, this man is in custody, but it's still sort of unknown what the outcome is going to be. That in itself is obviously contributing to some of the anxiety. And you mentioned, you feel as though once you kind of know what this man's fate is going to be, that, like, let's say he goes to jail for 10 years, that will you're saying that could possibly give you kind of a sense of security and sort of like closure a little bit. But right now you're feeling like it's still not resolved.
No, it just feels wide open. It's like, I don't know. I wish it never happened, but I know that it's not rational. Like, I know that I can't erase what happened. And like, I guess maybe that's the scariest part in some ways, like, that I can't go back in time and change anything. It's always going to be a thing that happened to me, and
absolutely. And that's something that's very hard for anybody, really. I mean, I have clients that come in for different reasons who have suffered a traumatic event, and it's always that, why did this have to happen? Why me? I can't go back and change it, but what we can do is move forward, and what we can do is kind of change our way of thinking and alter our kind of belief system to get back to a place in which we can live in a functional way. And so I think that we can definitely. I'm very glad that you're feeling receptive to the things we're talking about. So I have a little activity for us to do, and this could also be a homework assignment, but I think that it would be helpful for you to do in session today. And it's pretty much creating a list of activities that you find rewarding. And in your case, so you did mention that that you'll go out with friends, but yet you'll also still kind of have the intrusive thoughts when you're in a social setting.
Sorry, India makes me sleepy.
That's okay.
Even during the day, I don't need to yawn.
Well, it's okay. Sometimes, no hard feelings whatsoever. And I know that the couch is pretty comfortable, as most clients tell me, so it can be easy to kind of.
Of Ambien and a nice big couch.
And so I know you mentioned that, one activity that you do engage in is, going out with friends, but you also did mention that you will have those kind of intrusive thoughts sometimes, even when you're out with friends, and that can kind of interfere with the fun and kind of the easygoing aspect of the social outing. So I kind of want you to think of some activities that you find rewarding, and, and rewarding being you totally feel calm, kind of carefree. You're not really thinking about the event, and I want you to rate sort of how easy it is, on a scale of 1 to 10. I want you to kind of rate how easy or rewarding that is, with 1 being the most difficult to complete or not at all rewarding. So for example, going for a walk, the ease level of that could be a 9. And the reward level could be a 6.
When you say easy, like, what do you mean? Like, physically or mentally, or like? I
think physically and mentally. So it all depends, and I have clients who, like, the ease level could relate to, like, just getting out of bed. So is it motivating enough for them to get out of bed and do it? So for example, going for a walk for a client who might be depressed, the really hard aspect of that could be just getting out of bed and doing it. but the actual walking aspect, you know, actually getting out in the sunlight, you know, getting some exercise, moving their bodies, that is rewarding, and that's, you know, that's easy for them. But the kind of initial sort of bringing yourself to get yourself kind of, you know, set into that activity is, you know, that's sort of the hard part. So yeah, if you want to just maybe write down a couple, and then and I will get you a pen.
I think I saw a pen when I walked in on the left in that other room there.
Oh, okay.
Right when you walk in on the left,
Oh,
there should be a pen right there.
It's all over the place here.
That's alright, it happens.
hear you had a lot of good stuff so far with the
Mhm.
way that you've been writing. So that's great. I'm looking forward to
Yeah, I actually just finished, so here you go. Or do you want me to read it to you, or do you want to read it?
whatever you prefer.
You can
And
take
maybe
a look at it.
Sure, I'm happy to. Yeah.
Okay, here's your other thing.
Okay. Oh, is Rambo the name of your dog?
Rambo's my dog, yeah.
Very nice. Okay, so it sounds like that's something that comes, you know, you said an 8, in terms of, you know,
Mhm.
how easy that is, and kind of an 8 also for the reward aspect, for what you get out of it. Going out with coworkers. So before, you know, so it sounds like you said an 8, so it's easy to kind of, you know, for example, I'm assuming that someone calls you up and say, hey, let's go out to dinner, get a drink. That's easy. It's easy to kind of
Yeah,
go.
not hard.
Right. But I noticed that for after you put a 2. So it sounds like, so what I see from that is that once you're kind of in that setting, and when you do start to have the thoughts, then that's difficult.
Yeah,
That's a
it's
little more
hard
difficult.
because I feel like, well, if I go, you know, I get to work at 5 or 6, it's gonna be dark by the time I get home, and then I'm gonna feel friggin' terrified and not want to go back home. I mean, there's been like 1 or 2 nights where I've stayed with friends because I did try to go out late and didn't feel comfortable going back home. So, 2 is because like I have to get over that mental hurdle of like, can I handle being out past dark and then being able to come home. And
Okay,
not
so the
feel
time
good.
of day is definitely a factor. So for example, I mean, would you say that it would have remained at an 8 if the event or the outing took place in broad daylight?
Maybe 7 or 6
Okay.
because it's still less easy than it used to be.
Absolutely.
Because I still don't feel normal. I still feel
Right.
kind of within myself, I guess, locked up. But still pretty easy.
Okay, great. So going out with friends, you said pretty much 10, so that's very easy for you. It sounds like you know, from what we talked about earlier, you get a lot of reinforcement from work. There's safety, there's security, there's that social engagement. That's great, and the rewarding aspect is a 9. And hiking solo is interesting. You know, you said maybe between a 5 and a 6.
Yeah, because it's pretty hard. You know, it's physically challenging
Absolutely.
and it's mentally challenging, even before, because it takes a lot. Because you have to know your way around, and basically, if you get lost in the mountains, no one's coming for you. So you have to know your way around. I'm a pretty experienced hiker at this point, but I feel like before it would have been like a 1. It would be really hard. You know, it's not an easy thing to do. But now that I'm more experienced, I'd say it's more in the middle. And it's the most rewarding thing, I feel like, because it's such an accomplishment to know that you've climbed a huge mountain, you know? It's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, there's definitely that. It's very strenuous in a lot of ways. It takes a lot of physical strength and energy. But then there's also kind of like that sense of accomplishment and that internal feeling of like, wow, I achieved this. So that's great. It's great to see that you're right at a 10 there in terms of the rewarding factor. Taking a bath, you said a 10 for a level of ease, which is great to hear.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too hard for someone to take a bath, I don't think.
Absolutely. It can be very relaxing for many
Yeah.
people. Playing Counter-Strike, you said that was an 8. That was great. And reading, you said that was a 9 as well.
Yeah.
It's great. So pretty much all these things, and the purpose of this activity was to kind of assess sort of like, you know, what activities that you like to engage with, and engage in, and, you know, the ratings that you did in which you were able to rate the level of ease. That's also kind of measuring the reinforcement that you get from it. So all these activities have some sort of reinforcement that kind of keep you coming back for more. Like they're activities that you would repeatedly engage in because you get something out of it, and that's something that's physical and something that's emotional, and you know, puts you at ease in some way. So that's great. And generally, I mean, it sounds as though everything, for the most part, I know that we said that playing Counter-Strike, you know, it doesn't really provide a high level of long-term reward.
Yeah, it's mostly just like to get me out of my head rather than that, you know.
That's great to hear. So that's excellent. So are these activities do you feel like they're realistic to complete on a regular basis, and
Yeah.
these things that you engage in frequently?
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Okay.
there's more too, but that was just the most
Okay.
important ones, I guess, or the ones that are like mostly like that would happen frequently.
Well, that's great. I think that, you did a great job with this, and I think this is something that, activities like this, I think that when we meet for our next session, I might have you take a couple of these worksheets home, and, it can be very, very beneficial, I would think. So tell me, in terms of how often, would you say that before the incident, did you engage in these activities more before the incident?
Yeah.
Okay. And so, yeah.
Especially the social and the hiking alone.
Okay.
I don't really want to even go to my house alone, never mind climb a mountain. It's just hard. I don't like being alone, but at the same time, I feel the need to be alone. So yeah, I guess a lot of these things were easier before.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and when was the last time that you were? And we're talking about post-incident. Were you alone? When was the last time that you were alone in your house? And I want you to kind of describe what you were doing, what that felt like. Can you think of that?
After the incident? The last time I was alone, or
Yeah, we can say the last time.
Well, I mean, like last night.
Okay.
I've been sleeping in my house again for a while.
Okay. And before you went to sleep, what were you doing and what were you feeling?
Feeling anxious a lot of the time. But, I mean, I've been watching a lot of TV, which is something I don't normally do. But I keep the volume up loud, so it would sound like someone was home. If somebody were to walk by, and think that they might want to rob my house again. I guess maybe not last night, but in the morning when I woke up and nothing had happened, I felt good. I felt relieved.
Relieved.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I feel that all the time, safe.
And what do you think, and why do you think that you were, so you felt relieved because obviously you woke up and you were safe. Do you think that there was anything on your part that you did to kind of contribute to that safety? Or do you think that it was just, do you have any thoughts about that? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, I have a new alarm system that my dad, my mom kind of recommended that I install, and one of my coworkers helped me put it in, got me a good deal on it. Really good alarm system. So, every night I set that, every day when I leave the house I set that. So if somebody were to come in the house, it would be blasting. It wouldn't be like I would know. So it's kind of like I feel safe knowing that I have that protection. I also have my dog. I think mostly just knowing that my security is better now. I barely even locked my doors before. I would forget all the time. The door was locked when that guy broke in, but I'm way more careful and cautious now. I'm home more often, which I feel like I used to be out all the time, and maybe that was the reason I got targeted. So I don't know. I guess I did stuff to make myself feel safe.
Okay. That's great. And do any of these activities, I'm going to go ahead and kind of assume that these activities that you listed, make you feel safe and make you feel kind of secure and content for the most part. In some ways, they provide kind of a level of reinforcement, as we just talked about briefly, that kind of keep you, wanting to continue with those activities. So
yeah.
That's great to hear. So anytime that you're feeling, what does it sort of, look like in terms of your body sensations, in terms of your overall kind of, maybe some physiological or internal, mental kind of, symptoms, I guess you could say? what does it look and feel like when you're feeling unsafe? Like, so what do you do when you're feeling unsafe?
I feel completely panicked.
Mhm.
Like, I just, everything tenses up. My shoulders. I start to have, like, racing thoughts. Like, mostly I think about what I would do. Like, if I hear a noise outside or something, my mind immediately goes to, okay, well, here's what I'm going to do. I have, like, a plan in my head of what I'd do if somebody were to break in again.
Mhm.
You know, like, I have a room up in my attic, but, like, I can go up to the attic and I can close the, it's like one of those pop-down attics, so I can, like, if someone starts to break in, I could pull it down, run up the stairs, and then I can lock it from inside, so I could lock myself in the attic if somebody were to come in the house.
Mhm.
I mean, I was just so shocked before, and the guy had a gun, I had no chance to do that. So I have, like, a plan now of what I would do.
Mhm. Okay.
But as far as, like, mentally, so I'm just thinking about the plan every time I, like, hear a noise that makes me feel panicked. Or when I walk in the house and I still have that, like, apprehensive feeling like someone might be in there. It's just a feeling of, like, how am I going to handle this? Like, constantly, like, drilling myself over and over.
Mhm. And do engaging in one of these activities that you listed kind of help you when you are feeling that way?
Yeah, I would say the more going home type of stuff. Like, I definitely don't want to walk my dog when I'm feeling that on edge, but,
Mhm.
I think it'll happen as soon as I get home most days where it's, like, you know, in flight it's easier.
Mhm.
But when it's dark out, like, I'll take a bath. That usually calms me down. Or I'll just, like, sit and read for a while.
Mhm.
And make sure the lights are on pretty bright and, you know.
Okay. So it sounds like you do have, definitely, there is sort of, I'm kind of getting from you an element of safety and kind of doing these things, which is great to hear. So for next time, I think that what I'm going to have you do, I'm going to give you another one of these sheets that you worked on today, in case, maybe you have maybe you can come up with, like, some new things that you can do, to kind of distract yourself from sort of feeling kind of these intrusive thoughts. But I'm more so interested in, kind of going back to the assignment that we just did in terms of being with your friends. I want to try to maybe see how we can kind of, because as you said, you put that before, the level of easiness in terms of, like, going to an event with friends is a 10, so that's pretty simple, but, as we talked about, the after portion is a 2. I want to see if there's a way that we can get that level up a little bit, and it could even be, even if you go from a 2 to a 3, and I'm not, and I'm not saying that this has to happen before therapy, because if it's not genuine, and if it's not, I don't want you to come back and give me any kind of inaccurate information. Not that I'm saying you will, but,
okay. Yeah.
But I do want to see what we can do to maybe kind of increase that number a little bit. Do you have any thoughts in terms of, so, like, when you're out with those friends, of maybe what you can do to kind of feel a little bit better?
It's funny, just as you said that, it just dawned on me. I mean, I don't want to, like, talk to anybody about what happened, but it would be easy enough for me to carpool with somebody and have someone drive me home.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, you would feel a little bit safer with that.
because then there would be somebody there,
Absolutely,
I don't have
safety
to come in, but
first.
just have someone give me a ride home and have my car, drop my car off at home first. I live pretty close to work. Any number of things so that I wouldn't be alone when I get home late at night. And then I would feel safer. Once I get in the house, I generally feel pretty safe because I've changed things about my bedtime routine, like my evening routine, so that I do feel safer. It's more just going home, because, like, that's how it happened before. No one broke in when I was there. They broke in when I wasn't home. So when I go home, I feel like I have to do a sweep of the house. So, like, knowing that someone's there while I do that sweep, like, even if one of my coworkers just waits outside for, like, 2 minutes or, like, a minute, that's enough time for me to, like, feel that there's no one in my house and feel safe. That would make me want to go out more.
Is that so you're, from what I'm kind of gathering and from everything that you're saying and the way you're saying it, that sounds pretty realistic. That sounds like something that can be accomplished easily. Okay.
I think so too.
All right, that's great. Well, I would love to see how that goes
Yeah,
next
I'll let you
time.
know.
All right, well, that sounds great. It was very nice meeting you, and I look forward to seeing you for our next session, okay?
All right, great.
All
I'll
right.
see you later.
Take care. Bye.